One thing that can lower a score on an AP essay is not understanding who your audience is, not understanding what the purpose of your writing is, and not having any direction in your rhetorical analysis timed writing. So let's talk about that. First of all, you have to remember that your reader is going to either be your teacher or someone in Tampa who is grading your actual AP exam. Therefore, you do not need to define rhetorical strategies. Your teacher is going to know what those are. You don't need to tell the people reading your paper what diction is, or what logos or ethos or pathos or parallelism or connotation or whatever rhetorical strategy it is that you're using. Your teacher, the people that are reading your essay, they're going to know what that is. So you can drop those words in without any explanation. That's also true of the passage. The person that's reading your essay has read that passage probably many, many times, especially if they're older like me. They've read the passage several times. So while you do need to extract textual evidence from the passage, you don't need to spend too much time on that textual evidence. There's no need to explain what the textual evidence means in general. What you want to do is explain how the textual evidence connects with your rhetorical strategy and how those two things combine to further the point of the essay. When you don't do that, sometimes you come up with these empty statements, and empty statements tend to be definitions of the rhetorical strategy. So I have down here as an example from the Madeline Albright 2018 essay or test. Albright uses repetition because she wants her audience to remember what she said. Yep, that's right. That is right of everyone who has ever used repetition in a speech in the history of the world. Why does Albright use repetition? How is repetition unique to Albright's essay? What is repetition doing in her essay that it doesn't do in other essays? And it's certainly not for her audience to remember what she said, because that's the point of repetition in any essay. We have to get beyond those empty statements. Let me give you another example. This one's from Kennedy. So if you had something like, Kennedy develops ethos in order to use experts because he wants his listeners to believe him. Well, once again, duh. That's exactly why anyone would use ethos. So you have to get beyond that. It's probably okay to write that as your first sentence. I mean, it's not necessary, but if you did write that as your first sentence, that's okay. But if you end there, you're not going to score high. You have to dig deeper, and you have to figure out how Kennedy's use of ethos is different from anybody else's use of ethos. So you need to remember what your job is. Your job is not to isolate and explain that rhetorical strategies exist within the rhetorical analysis prompt. Your job is to prove what the rhetorical strategy does. We know that they're there. We know what they are. What we don't know is what you think the rhetorical strategies do. And that is where you will score, and that is where analysis comes into the body, and you will score higher as a result.